Welcome into another KARE 11 Sports Plus alongside Julia Daniels. I'm Reggie Wilson. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Wednesday. Julia, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
You like the pregnant pause?
I was like, what is he going to ask? It's 55 degrees outside. The sun is shining. The sun is shining later than it has been.
It's a whole new juju.
My personality is coming back. And
wow.
I told Reggie, everyone better watch out because she's rising from the dead.
Lord bless us. Anyway, let's get into some talk. Let's get into some Wolves talk.
Okay.
So you just talked about how you were, out and about watching that Timberwolves game.
Yeah.
She wasn't a believer.
I was not a believer. I was proven wrong.
You know what? Neither was I. I told our producer, Ryan, I was like, yeah, we'll have about 20 seconds for Timberwolves. It's not a whole lot to talk about. This is a blowout, whatever. They're down 25 in the third.
Yeah.
They closed the game on a 16-0 run.
I know.
To go to overtime, and they get it done.
Yeah, I was watching the game, and I looked at the score and thought, all right, this one's over. And then I started yapping to the person next to me, and then I looked up again, and I said, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, hold up.
Yeah.
And I had to make sure, of course, everyone around me was watching the game and was in tune as well, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, Jalen Clark
Crazy.
said when they got down to 12, he was like, we can do this. And maybe that's just an irrational young player just being like, I know we can do it. He's a very confident player in his abilities, and we appreciate that about Jalen. We got some news about Jalen as well here soon, but they get a chance to close. And this was the most crazy part of this thing. They closed this game on this 16-0 run. And Ant is on the bench. He's nursing a calf injury. And he's in the warm-ups. And he's just like, cheering the team on. And they're hooping. Shea was in the game. Didn't matter.
No.
The Thunder are the best team in basketball.
Right.
Or, maybe the Cavs, depending on who you root for.
Right.
But they're the best team in basketball. One of the deepest teams that I've seen, 1 through 10, can
Didn't
go
matter
get you a
if
bucket.
Chet was out there or not.
Chet was out there.
Right.
Shea was out there. He's the front runner for MVP. And now all of a sudden, you got these young the pups, going out there and making it happen without Ant being out there.
I know.
And then when they get to OT, Ant's like, look, I want some of this. Let's get in on that. We got like 4 days to rest after this. Let me get in there. And, he's
Thank
cold.
God he did.
Yeah, he's cold shooting and nursing a bad calf. I don't think I've ever seen anybody jump that high nursing a bad calf. On, like I said, the front runner for MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, gets the layup. Target Center fans calling him free throw merchant.
Yeah.
Didn't get a call because it was a clean block at the rim, and that sealed the game.
This is what basketball is all about.
Yeah.
That you hope for a game like this on a Monday night, right? We were watching, and I was trying to keep up with, like, who's in, who's out, what's going on, why is Ant not playing?
Yeah.
Because we were just having dinner, and I got to the place and didn't really understand the context of everything. And then once you kind of get tuned into it, and then you have a finish like that, it's Anthony Edwards.
It is.
You never ever want to predict what Ant's going to do.
No, and bad calf, doesn't matter. He's blocking Shea, and that's just a energetic win. They needed that. They lost 4 of the last 6 coming into that.
Right.
They needed that win.
And Jaden McDaniels, too, his performance that night.
So Jaden's game has really shined and blossomed with Dante out and with Julius out. You're like, they need somebody else who can go get him a bucket. Nikhil has been an uptick in his offense as well, but Jaden McDaniels.
Not on my bingo card for stepping up offensively.
Team high 27 points in that game, and this is what he had to say after.
It kind of felt like the Game 7 low-key versus Denver, how we came back. Just, it's not as worth how much that game was, but it still gives us, like, the feel, even though we're down 15-20, we can still come back in the game.
They was making shots all night. And then somehow in the fourth quarter, they just went cold. They couldn't hit anything. And Jaden and Nas and TJ, the boys start playing. And it was just, at that point, it was just like we had the momentum. The best players couldn't get nothing because we was trapping them at half court. So he had to get off the ball, and they had to make plays for themselves. And it worked out for us.
Just incredible stuff. And as I said, they had a little bit of a layoff. I don't know if you saw, but they were kind of making their rounds on the media circuit yesterday in LA. And that was kind of fun to see. Finchie was sitting there in studio on the herd.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, Nikhil
He
went
confessed that he did say
Bozo. Yeah. Look, Finchie, it's all good. We're not mad at you, baby. You know, it was just your reaction. So looking at this, they're on this West Coast road trip. Thursday against the Lakers. We saw Luka against the Mavs on Tuesday, and that was some kind of game, triple-double. Then they have Utah on the second night of a back-to-back, and then they're at Phoenix on Sunday.
Right.
What is your thoughts on the outlook of this Wolves team, especially considering they may get Dante back soon? It seems like it's just a matter of time, and Julius Randle is going to be coming back soon as well.
I think they're on an uphill trajectory.
Yeah.
I think those are the correct words I should be using there. To playing their best basketball.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I mean, when you're covering an NBA team, you kind of see an evolution of a team usually in a season. My first season covering the Wolves, we didn't see the evolution at all.
Right.
Last year, that was when we saw the evolution of the first year that I covered. This year, we've kind of seen it all in one season.
Yeah.
And it's been, their strengths have come from, we were talking about the Thunder's depth, the Wolves' depth, but it's not experience that they have at depth. It's the younger guys that they've been able to rely on, which is very promising for the future. But I think that they are on the uphill trajectory of playing their very best basketball. But at the same time, they are a team that makes me wonder when Dante and Julius come back,
that's the point.
How they'll mesh.
Yep. That's the part.
When they do come back.
Yep.
So it's kind of up in the air for me at the moment.
The young guys have made it hard for Chris Finch to make some decisions with this rotation because now you've played the young guys.
Right.
They've made the most of their opportunities. You're talking about a guy in Jalen Clark, friend of the program. He just got his two-way contract ripped up.
Yeah.
He's an
Exciting
NBA
stuff.
player now. What was it, a month ago? He said that he was used to the standard routine of sit, clap, go home. No more of that, brother. You are in the lineup because defense, as they say, wins championships, but also defense wins you playing time.
Yeah.
And now he's rewarded with a 2-year NBA contract. Congrats to Jalen Clark.
So exciting.
And we're excited to see what he continues to do. It was a little scary on Sunday when he fell and hurt his neck on the court, but he was able to bounce back and play
He's
that next
young.
night. Yeah, but in the games that he has played in the month of February, opponents are shooting 41% on him. That is seatbelt.
Yep.
Seatbelt
You're
season.
going to say that.
Yes.
I knew you were going to say that.
So we're excited for Jalen Clark, and we're eager to see what Chris Finch does with this rotation once he gets some of his key guys back.
Might take him a moment to kind of figure that out.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Which is tough because they continue to try to figure things out. You know, earlier this season it was, okay, how do we mesh Dante and Julius in there? And it was a little clunky at first, and then they kind of figure it out. And when Julius Randle goes out, he's leading the team in assists, and it's looking good for the Wolves. And then now all of a sudden he's out, and now you're trying to reset and find a new thing with them as well. And then they're going to come back from injury, and now you're going to try to find a good, solution there as well. So I'm just interested to see how it all plays out.
Before we head to break, I want to say this one key stat that ESPN put at the bottom of
here
their
we
game
go.
recap. Minnesota was the first team in NBA history to win a road game when trailing by at least 20 points, entering the fourth quarter against a team with an 800 or better winning percentage.
Yeah, so I said all of those things on air, and I think I confused our anchors, Lauren and Julie. They were like, Reggie, you just threw a lot of stats out there. On the road, entering into the fourth quarter against a team with an 800%.
But those that understand, that's crazy.
If you know, you know. Yeah. All right, well, that's Wolves Talk. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk a little bit about the Vikings. They got some decisions to make and some decisions that we may see soon with free agency opening up very soon. Welcome back. That's Juju. I'm Reggie. Let's get into some Vikings talk. They're at the Combine this week. A lot of wheeling and dealing happens at the Combine every week. And, Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, highly skilled at saying a lot
Nothing.
Yes, and still leaving you saying, wait, what? So what does that mean?
So why did we have this presser?
What does it mean?
What are we talking about?
30 minutes of my life that I'm still just trying to understand.
And I'll never get it back.
Are they going to keep Sam Darnold, or are they going to go with JJ? Are they going to bring Daniel Jones back? I don't understand. What are we thinking? And so I think it's interesting, though, that Kwesi was kind of grading himself.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 drafts that he's going to be overseeing.
He should, though. I mean, he should.
Absolutely. And also he acknowledged, too, we saw that Super Bowl where they really got after Patrick Mahomes and made him look like a Sam Darnold, if you will, against the Rams and the Lions, because the pressure busts pipes. They say pressure makes diamonds, or they bust pipes. Well, they bust pipes in the Super Bowl. They just seem to make a diamond out of Joe Burrow, though. I don't understand how he just continues to be Houdini, but that's...
I think he's a psychopath.
That's neither here nor there, but...
In a good way.
We're
not dogging on you.
Respectfully, Joe Burrow, you are him.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see what the Vikings do in the trenches, because January football is what Kwesi kind of acknowledged at the Combine on Tuesday, saying that games in January are won in the trenches, and the Vikings know that they have to be better there. Yeah,
I think that that's something that they talked about a lot. When Kevin O'Connell did talk at the Combine, he said, we're not trying to replace anybody. I didn't say replace.
Don't want to replace.
He said we didn't replace.
He's so nice.
He is so nice. I think, you don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers at this moment, because you don't want to burn any bridges.
Exactly.
But he knows that they have a serious issue on their offensive line, and it exposed their entire offense in those last 2 games of the season. So it's something that definitely has to be addressed. I think defensively, the trenches as well. That has to be addressed, whether that's at edge or, wherever. Well, Brian Flores, we never know really what he's going to do there. But I think also one of their other needs is depth at quarterback too. And so there's all these questions. I think if it was up to me, right, and we came to draft day, we had pick number 24, I would go with the most versatile offensive lineman left. I would address that before I go to cornerback, because I think that sometimes there's not enough value put on offensive linemen. But if you look at Christian Darrisaw, the Vikings understand his value, and they understand that they need more than just CD. They gotta add some depth there. They've got to add some value to their offensive line. So I think you're exactly right in saying that.
Absolutely. And Kevin O'Connell is like a young Reggie Wilson on the dating scene. Don't really want to commit too soon. Just kind of want to keep the options open. And we're gonna put a graphic on the screen. Check out what he had to say about Sam Darnold yesterday at the Combine. He said, I've had great dialogue with Sam from the time the season ended up until very, very recently. I think my relationship with Sam has grown to a point where the respect level is sky high. This process is going to play out both short-term and long-term for the Minnesota Vikings. Again, what does it mean? Sam is in a position to be, I think he said Sam is in a position where they think the NFL thinks highly of him playing the quarterback position at a high level. And that's a really good thing. He's kind of patting himself on the back. It's a really good thing. I feel proud to be a part of helping him get to this point. We'll see where it goes from here. So from what Kevin O'Connell said, and we'll bring up what Kwesi said here soon, what do you make from what Kevin O'Connell said here?
What I make from this, and I was telling you this earlier today when I was listening to all these pressers, I took some notes when I was listening, just because this is one of the only times you get to hear from them in the spring, right? Was no one said that they really want Sam back.
Ooh.
No one said it.
Ooh.
And I think that we had some discussion this morning about, well, a team never wants to say this, and then it's something, they feel like something's promised, and this, that, and the other. But what we did hear from them was they're very excited to see JJ McCarthy play. So if I'm going to read into things, my mind goes, they're not saying we really, really want Sam Darnold back here. I think even if they said that, it's Sam Darnold's not diva enough, whatever the word is, to take that and take that as Bible at that time. It's not set in stone. He knows nothing's set in stone until you sign a piece of paper. But I just find it interesting that we've never heard them say, we really, really want Sam to stay here and be a part of our offense. So I don't know.
Sounds similar to what they said at the Combine last year about Kirk Cousins, and then we saw kind of how it played out with that. And I think it's a non-committal committal, if that makes sense. It's just like, we love Sam. Full stop.
We respect him.
We respect Sam. We put Sam in position to make a lot of money at the next stop of his NFL career.
Wherever he lands.
Wherever he lands. It could be Minnesota, though. We're not throwing ourselves out of the picture.
They're kind of keeping all their options open.
Exactly.
But
like I said, young Reggie Wilson.
Yeah, I just think that if they were really inclined to keep him, then we would hear them say more about wanting him back in their own building.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at what Kwesi had to say at the Combine, and I think this is pretty telling. I was telling my staff, if I could have thought of a brain teaser, an experiment to think through, that would have been a pretty tough one. A Pro Bowl quarterback, won all those games, 14 to be exact, and then you lose to 2 teams twice. That was really the core of our offseason, thinking through that holistically, not trying to be overweighted by those 8 quarters, but not underweighing those last 2 games. So what he's saying is, those 14 games were really nice, and I was just talking to you guys in the group chat about this yesterday. I was cutting highlights for Sam Darnold to talk about him on the newscast last night.
Right.
Man, that game against Atlanta, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And it wasn't him being a game manager. Like, he looked like a bona fide NFL quarterback.
Right.
And looking at those games, it is so hard for me in my mind to compute that guy and then the peak of what we saw against the Packers at the end of the year to the guy we saw at the start of 2025 against the Lions and against the Rams. He was not bad against the Lions the first time around. They had a chance to win that game. He was not necessarily bad against the Rams the first time around. They had a chance to win that game. You know, we got the face mask gate in the end zone for a safety or whatever. But then you look at those last 2 games and you're just like, who is this guy really? Is he the guy that won 14 games, or is he the guy that lost those 2 games and looked pretty bad, like he was seeing ghosts again? And you know, one of my best friends, he's like, man, Sam's just average. I'm like, I don't think you can compute those 14 wins and how he looked in a lot of those games with those last 2 games and say, okay, great, really not good, yeah, he's average.
I would agree with that. I would also say it's a tough thing. I mean, in Kwesi's end of season presser, he talked about how he was juggling this, right? And he just did it. He's trying to weigh the, you know, not underweigh and overweigh and I think that at the end of the day, Sam Darnold's career, if you're able to look at it, people are gonna remember how well he played, but they're gonna mostly remember those last 2 games of the season, and that it kind of looked like the Sam Darnold that they've seen for the rest of his career. So it's hard for a team to invest, especially when you have a rookie that you have a lot of faith in, but there's still so many questions to be answered. And also, if you're keeping Daniel Jones or not, which is another huge question that they have too. And Kevin O'Connell, I said I love to read into things, right? But I'm not reading into it too much. He did make a comment about, well, we loved Daniel Jones when he was there and then he got to come see our culture. And so that wasn't very promising for him either. So I think we're just at a moment where it's such a huge question. We're not going to have any answers for a very, very long time.
Well, maybe not that long, because March is when the start of free agency occurs.
Right.
And we are just weeks away from that point. So I think I'm interested to see what happens. And there's going to be a resolution here quick. But, you know, real quick before we go to break, you know who Kwesi sounds like? I like to draw crazy parallels.
Okay.
Kwesi sounds like the guy who is at the very end of a bad breakup. It's just like, yeah, we had our good times, but do those good times outweigh the time he cussed me out and really, you know, gaslit me and talked so bad about me, you know, that ended up, you know.
I don't want you to think this was time wasted.
Yeah, it wasn't time wasted. We had good times together. And at times they were great times, but I can't get over how things ended. We can't be.
Right.
Does that sound
Sounds like
off-base?
you've been here before.
I'm not speaking from experience or anything. Anyway, we're going to move on. Coming up after the break, we got some puck talk. We're going to talk about the Wild, so stick with us. Welcome back to Reggie Wilson Therapy Hour. KARE 11 Sports Plus. Julia, the Four Nations tournament might have sent some Americans to therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a tough one. McDavid gets the game-winning goal in overtime to sink U.S. and propel Canada to a trophy that meant nothing but everything at the same time.
Yeah. Anytime it's the greatest rivalry in sports, anytime the United States and Canada play, it's for everything.
Yeah.
Right? It was a crazy game, overtime game, everything you could ask for, except for if the United States would have, just won it. If you leave Connor McDavid open, he's going to do that to you. So,
what did Dorian Finney-Smith say about Luka and LeBron being on the same team? It leaves him butt naked open.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Connor McDavid.
Exactly. So that guy's pretty good at hockey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
newsflash.
Whenever you're put in a situation where he's left all on his lonesome, he's going to make you pay every single time.
Yeah, and I know Brock Faber was probably one of the guys who really lamented that a lot because, he's a player known for his defensive acumen, and Connor McDavid just somehow got lost in the shuffle there.
Right.
And so, the Wild were on this road trip at Detroit when they came back to play after the break, and we heard from Brock Faber for the first time since the Four Nations tournament. Check out what he had to say.
Definitely a game you're going to think about a long time. Such a cool experience. Obviously, we wanted to come home with a win, but makes you that much more motivated and excited to hopefully get him again a year from now.
So here it is, what Brock Faber says. That really sucked.
Yeah.
We're going to get him back next year at the Olympics.
Well, you know what I always say, the old saying goes, but I do say it a lot. It's hard to beat a team twice. It's hard to beat a team twice in a row, maybe, because these two teams will see each other a lot this year when it comes to picking the Olympic team roster and things like that. So if anybody knows, it's Brock. He was captain of Team USA at the last Winter Olympics. But when it comes to the big stage, hopefully they'll get that chance to get their get back because Canada won this last one. It went U.S., Canada. Now it sounds like it's the U.S.'s turn for gold, maybe?
Some get back, but we don't know exactly how they'll meet up, moving forward because of how the tournament is going to fall. But you know what this really sounds like, more importantly, that we need to convince the higher-ups at KARE 11 to send us to Milan next year.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we should go to Italy and check it out.
Escape the cold winter, and you don't see Juju and her personality go away. It just stays.
Yeah,
it
just
in
sticks
Milan.
around.
Exactly. All right. If they're listening, I know you are.
I like that pitch.
This is our humble pitch to go to Milan next year for the Olympics. We'll do a great job for you. You know? Yeah. But switching gears, the wild and wacky return. They mount a furious comeback over the weekend.
Right.
And then they lose to that same team, the Detroit Red Wings, on Tuesday. As Detroit kind of mounted, I wouldn't call it a furious comeback. It was a subtle, overtime comeback to eventually beat the Wild 3-2. What are you thinking about as far as the Wild moving forward? Because, again, they can't catch a break. I had a thought to bring a CVS receipt in and be like, this is the Wild injury report.
Right.
Because Jeek goes down, Joel Eriksson Ek, at practice, I guess he felt something, and then after it's like, oh, this is not a little something. It's enough to put him on injury reserve. They say he's week to week, but hockey insider Michael Russo said it could be longer than that. And so now they're without him. They're still without Kirill. They're without Hartman serving the suspension, even though it did get reduced from 10 games to 8 games.
Right.
How are they supposed to sustain
I mean, they've been doing this all season.
I mean, yeah, true.
They started out as the best team in hockey, and then they got bit by the injury bug. They haven't been phenomenal, not like they were to start the season, but they've learned how to face adversity. So I wouldn't count the Wild out in any sense. I will say, obviously, this blows, right?
Yes.
But Kirill should be back. What if my math is correct? Kirill should be back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, the hope.
Something like
Yeah.
they're hoping, right? It's just it's a tough spot to be in, especially at this point in the year. What is this? Third place in the Central Division, entering play Tuesday, 4 points behind Dallas Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Their favorite, the Dallas Stars, everyone's favorite around here.
Yeah.
So I just think,
Homegrown team, the Dallas Stars.
yeah, I know. Ouch.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
don't let it burn.
Don't do that. It's okay. All right.
But the Wild, I just think with all of the injuries, we haven't really gotten to know what their identity and what their strengths are.
Right.
Because it's not been, oh, they're so good at this. It's been, oh, they're so good at dealing with the. Yeah. And so it's kind of up in the air when it comes to this point in the year. And it makes you wonder when the postseason comes around what their strengths will be.
Yeah.
Because what also it can also be a strength in that sense too, because your opponents are also like, I don't know anything about this team.
What is this team going to be?
I don't know what they're going to look like or
Yeah.
who's going to show up.
They haven't played all together since the first night of the season.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
so it's just an odd spot. It's hard to really analyze or predict the Wild at this point in the year, especially, and they play Detroit twice. They go 1-for-1 with them. And so I think that's kind of the perfect microcosm of the Wild right now. And so I think it's just, unfortunately, Wild fans, you're just going to have to be patient.
Yeah.
Wait this one out
Yeah.
and see how things turn out. If everyone's healthy by the postseason, I, knock on wood, would give them a run at the cup.
Yeah.
They're that good when they're all together,
Yeah.
but it's just going to depend on how healthy they are.
Yeah, shout out to John Hines. This is not an ideal situation for him, and he's just continued to steer the ship. Listen to what he had to say about the outlook for the last 25 games or so.
We have 25 games. We know that we want to continue to push and continue to get better and win games, whether they're home or on the road. And for me, it's not so much where we play or who we're playing. It's making sure that we're just truly focused on, like, the next team. What do we have to do to win games on a regular basis?
Call him Captain Optimism.
He is. He's always like that.
Yeah. So
What else are you going to do?
I know. It's just like, I just got to play the guys who are out there. Shout out to Marco Rossi. You just wonder, you're like, where are the goals going to come from? He's
Yeah.
got 21 goals this season so far. He scored in back-to-back games. So I'm interested to see how they continue to overcome during this stretch, but
Right.
it is not an ideal thing. You say, oh, all teams deal with injuries. It's just a part of the game, but this many?
Well, I will say, to your point, they have done a pretty good job of offensively spreading the puck around because they have to.
Yeah, out of necessity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it
keep-
works every now and again.
Exactly. So keep spreading that puck around. Just keep hanging around, trying to win these games until Kirill the Thrill comes back, until you get Jeek back, until you get Hartman back. And then it's on, boys. It's on. It's
Matt
on.
Boldy, stay healthy. Brock Favors, stay healthy.
Please.
Jared Spurgeon,
We just want to see it all together.
Right.
See if you guys can do something special. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed this time. I hope this has been something special for you, because we're out of time today. Thanks for joining us on the KARE 11 Sports Plus. From Juju, I'm Reggie. We out.